Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us to Setback to Triumph. Today we're at day 9. Can you believe it? We're at day 9. That means that we're almost done. One complete week plus one more day. Yesterday we talked about what choice do you have? Do you have a choice of what you're doing? Because what we started out talking about is competition versus out creation, right? Most of us live in this world of competition. You look at the Raptors, which I posted yesterday, is they lost the first 3 games, and then they were able to win 2 games, including one at the Challengers court, and they still were able to win. And what was the difference? And the difference was that they were in their zone, they were in the flow, they were enjoying the game. They were not in a competitive mode. They were there to enjoy the game and be able to just play, not necessarily win. And when you stay in that mode and when you're in that flow, you start creating and not competing. So we want to out-create. So today we're going to talk about desires versus expectations, because what happens normally is that your desire or your expectation to win has a difference of frequency. Remember, we talked about energy, we talked about vibration, and what frequency are you vibrating? When you're vibrating at a competitive frequency versus an out creating frequency, that's a different frequency. When you're working from a desire frequency compared to an expectation frequency, that's a different frequency. So we're going to talk about that today. So let's go ahead and talk about expectations versus desires. So the first thing that I want to do is to sort of define what expectation is. So an expectation is a strong belief that something will happen or be the case in the future. So believing that something is going to happen, or believing that something should be a certain way, has what I refer to as a set of projections, right? You are looking at your past and bringing that into the present or into the future. Because remember, I've said this a number of times, the past is not a predictor of the future. But when you have an expectation, unfortunately, you are bringing your past into it. And that is where we get setbacks. The expectation results into setbacks. And I invite you to change that expectation into a desire or an intention. And an intention is a determination or plan to do a specific thing. The direction or orientation of the mind towards an object. Remember, we talked about this, of how every energy level creates a certain amount of thought. And we're going to talk about it in the coming sessions, of how the relationship of the emotion and the mind and our actual achieving of what we want, how those 3 things are related. So today we want to focus on expectation and intention, because intention is what works with the mind. The expectation works with a past predictor, not a future predictor. So let's look at some examples of what I refer to as desire and intention, right? So desire, sorry, I am actually just going to go back here for a second, and I have multiple screens, so it takes a little while. All right. So desires that are held tightly are known as expectations. Desires that are held lightly are known as intentions. So when an expectation is strong, your actions become weak, right? This is where I mentioned about the Raptors, right? Their expectation was to win, and so their action of playing became weak. When intentions are strong, on the other hand, your actions become stronger. So their intention was to enjoy the game, be in the moment, and so they became strong. When expectations are born from a sense of scarcity, of not being enough, that becomes weak for you. However, when intentions are born from a place of abundance, then you always have enough, right? So expectations always be from a sense of scarcity, whereas intentions are from a sense of being always enough. Your expectations focuses on seeking happiness, whereas intention focuses on spreading happiness. Do you remember we talked about the idea of success? And success came from serving. And when you served, success and material abundance or other abundance was inevitable. So that's why when you have this thing that once I help somebody, I'm going to be happy, as opposed to I'm going to help somebody irrespective of the outcome. My intention is to serve, not to be recognized. Expectations are based on targets and outcome. The goal is what matters the most. Again, going back to the Raptors, their goal was gotta win, gotta win, gotta win, gotta win, as opposed to I gotta have fun and play. Intentions, on the other hand, are based on purpose and process. And that's why we talked about the Ikigai. What is your purpose? What is your purpose? What is your reason for waking up? What is your raison d'etre? The journey is important, not the destination. Expectations become rigid and inflexible, whereas intentions tend to be adaptive and flexible. It's like the Titanic, right? If you have this big ship and you're trying to move it and you become so rigid, it's hard to change to what's coming against you. But if you are fluid, water, sound, light will always curve to the way it is. When you take a rigid object, it's not going to. Right? Expectations come from the perspective, what can I get out of this? Whereas intentions are from the perspective, what can I bring to this? Right? Getting versus giving. Back to that definition of success, serving unconditionally. When you serve unconditionally, that happens. Now, in the respect of time, I'm not going to go through all of this, but I will put this in there and see if you can reflect on these and see what comes up for you, right? So I'm just going to read them really quickly here. Expectations are serious, intentions are lighthearted. Expectations seeks to be best in the world, intention seeks to be best for the world. One word, one small word, in versus for, changes the whole perspective of how you do things. Expectation sees the world as real and a scary place, whereas intention sees the world as a dream and a playful life. Going back to the Raptors game, right? They played having fun. You could see the smiles on their faces when it was happening. Even when on the last game, one of the players actually scored on the other person's net, they did not take it seriously. They said, let's play, let's play. Expectation is doing things for happiness. Intention is doing things from happiness. I do not want to do something so that I can be happy or make somebody happy. I want to do it because I am happy and I'm going to do it. Expectation leads to blaming. Intention leads to claiming responsibility. Ho'oponopono is a big example of this, right? Take responsibility. I will put this, Rhonda, on the group, on the Facebook group. And other than that, if you still haven't got it, feel free to just message me and I will send it out to you, right? Expectations are focused on outer happenings, whereas intentions are happening on inner happiness. We've said this time and time again, work from the inside and the outside will change. When you look at your inside and you change your inside, the frequency, remember we talked about emotions, we talked about energy. When you change your internal energy, the outside energy changes. When I was putting all of this together, I was saying, how much more can I give? How much more can I serve? And how could I put this whole together? And when I did it without any resistance, it just flowed together. I've been wanting to do this for almost a year and I was struggling. How do I put this package together? What will it do? And when I let go and I did it out of servitude, as opposed to what I was going to be able to do and how smart I was going to look, it shifted everything for me. And that's why these things are really, really, really thing. The last one is what I'm going to read because we talked about that 2 days ago. Expectations are based on fear. Intentions are based on love. Always work out of love, because fear and love, as I mentioned the other time, cannot coincide or coexist. You can only have one or the other reside. So when you work out of love, fear does not exist. You can't have dark and light in the same room. You either have the switch on or you have it off. If it's on, it's dark. When you turn it on, it's light. You can't have darkness and lightness in the same room. Even a sparkle of a candle will light the room, but that is light. It takes the darkness away. It's no longer dark. Love and fear cannot coexist in the same place. Let's change that forever. Because what ends up happening is that when we have this expectation, there is only 100% chance that you're going to be disappointed. And how do we define disappointment? Disappointment is equal to expectation over reality. The higher the expectation you have, the lower your reality. The lower the expectation, the higher the reality, right? This is not how my life was supposed to be. I was supposed to have a house by now. I was supposed to have a spouse by now. I was supposed to have 3 children by now. My children were supposed to become doctors. What happened? What happened? You're not the exception. We, unfortunately, including me, we are the majority. Our entire life is based on expectation. And I bear to say that today's society, we are an entitled society. Yes, disappointed equals thwarted expectations. Absolutely. Absolutely. We become slaves to our expectations. They start ruining our lives. In our minds, things are supposed to be different. We have great expectations, but these expectations start robbing us of our happiness because I wasn't able to get to where I thought I should have been able to. My expectation was there. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not saying for a second that we should not have goals and ambitions and to be able to dream big. Yes, absolutely. That's why it's important to set SMART goals, which we're going to do towards the end of the program. They have to be specific, they have to be measurable, they have to be realistic. They have to be time sensitive, but they have to be achievable. And yes, we need to stretch those goals sometimes so that we come out of that fear and move into love. And at the edge of that comfort zone is where our growth exceeds us. And so when we look at this and we say, there is going to be change over a period of time, and our expectation is actually a 45-degree angle. However, our growth is going to be a curve. And there is going to be that gap, which is the valley of disappointment. And what ends up happening is we start festering and staying in that valley of disappointment. We don't come out of that valley of disappointment. And so we never really break through of our expectations because we take our past and we sit in that. We fester and we say, what happened? Rather than making that change. And so in that valley of disappointment is what we look or define as our setback. To be able to triumph, we need to go over that line of expectation. Because when you have expectations, there is 100% chance you're going to be disappointed. When you fight with reality, you are going to lose 100% of the time. So that's why that SMART goal is really important. I love this saying that I found today by Alexander Pope. Blessed is he who expects nothing, for he shall never be disappointed. I'm not saying don't have a goal. I'm saying do not expect somebody else to achieve that goal for you, because that goal achieving becomes your responsibility. I am not even saying do not accept help, because that's why I coach. I help people to achieve their goals. And somebody will offer you a hand. Be aware of it. Be present in the moment. You always have a choice. but do it without an expectation. Give without expectation, receive without expectation. I'm so glad, Rhonda, that this is reflecting with you. Thank you. There are no coincidences in life. There are only synchronicities. You are listening to this message because it is meant for you today. So then my question becomes, how do we convert our expectations into intentions? And it's actually quite simple. There's only 3 questions you need to ask. What do I want? How will it feel when I have it? And can I feel it now? Ask those 3 questions today, because as we come towards the end of the program, I will give you some actual tools that you'll be able to work with to be able to take this and materialize what you're looking for, so that you're not working on expectations, you're working on intentions. You're not you're actually manifesting the life that you want. You're creating the life that you desire and living the life that you want, not the one that exists within you. We're going to change that. Now, of course, I always go over by 2 minutes, but that's only because I'm going to tell you a story. And I know you guys love my stories, so I cannot stop this without a story. And I promised you I'm going to end after that. So thank you all for staying for more than 15 minutes. So once upon a time, there was a king who had a male servant. And in all circumstances, he always said, "My king, do not be discouraged, because everything God does is for your highest good." Now, this king was a little skeptical, maybe sometimes like me. And so he was always cautious of what this servant of his did. So one day he took him hunting, and they were hunting a wild animal where the king actually got attacked by this wild animal. The servant managed to kill the animal, but unfortunately, his king lost a finger. Furious and without showing gratitude, the king said, "If God was good, I would not have been attacked and lost a finger." Expectations, expectations that this person should have saved me no matter what, right? Expectation. So furious and without showing gratitude, the king said, "If God was so good, I would have not been attacked." He has the expectation of not losing his finger, not the expectation of surviving his life, but not losing his finger, right? Gratitude for saving my life versus gratitude of or expectation of not having any harm because he was king. The servant replied, "Despite all of these things that had happened, I can only tell you one thing. The God is good, and everything he does is perfect. He is never wrong." Outraged by this response, the king asked all of his servants to take the servant immediately and jail him, put him in prison. And even at this time, the servant goes, God is good and perfect. 2 sides of the story, right? Expectation and intention. The king had a different expectation. The servant's intention was to serve the king, no matter how he did, without any expectation of gratitude. Most of it would say, "But king, I saved your life." Not this person, because he had no expectations of what the gratitude of the king. Another day, the king left alone to go for a hunt. And unfortunately, he got captured by savages who use human beings to sacrifice. On the altar, the savages found that the king actually lacked one finger. And because they could not sacrifice somebody who was not perfect, they had to let the king go. He could not be offered to the gods. I love your smile, Rhonda. On his return to the palace, he ordered the release of his servant and said, "My friend, God was really good to me. I was almost killed today because I didn't have this finger. I was let go. But I have a question for you. Yet expectations. The king is still not happy that his life was saved. He still had to ask the question to the servant. If God is so good, then why did he allow me to put you in prison?" And his servant replied, "My king, if I had not been in prison, I would have had to go with you. And if I would have gone with you, then you would have been saved because you didn't have a finger, but I'm perfect. And so I would have been sacrificed." Everything God does is perfect. He is never wrong. How often do we get disappointed because of the things we expect don't go our way? But if your intentions are good, things always work out. The servant's intentions were good. His intention was to save the king, irrespective of what the outcome was at the end. He did not start defending or protecting himself or fighting that I should not go to prison, at least I saved your life. His intention remained without any expectation. How often do we complain about life, of negative things happening to us, the setbacks that happen to us? Remember, everything happens for a purpose. Let go of the expectations, work with the intentions. I'm going to end the story with this, but again, I'm going to ask you if something resonates with you today, please put it in the chat, put it in the Facebook group. Thank you all for joining. Tomorrow we talk about stress and how stress impacts us and how it can actually lead to more setbacks and getting us back. Thank you for joining me. Really, really, really appreciate you all being here. Have an awesome, awesome, awesome day. I have some people online that say that they're making them smile about slavery and all of the expectations. Thank you so much for those that joined online. Again, we will have this on YouTube. Please, please, please share this with as many people as you can, because the more people that get this message, the more we are going to be able to change everybody's lives. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.